This is Jonah Pearson, and you are listening to the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 3 of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast. I thank you so much for tuning in once again. And once again, you can email me, kirbyonsports@gmail.com. Follow my Twitter, Kirby on Sports, and follow my Facebook page, Kirby on Sports podcast. Now, let's get right into it. We have a very full, packed-in episode. Week 1 of the NFL just wrapped up yesterday, and I am doing a full recap of most of the games, in-depth look on a few games, but for the most part, I am giving sort of my breakdown of some of the games. So, Thursday night started the NFL season with the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Atlanta Falcons in a rematch of the NFC divisional playoff game, and the Eagles won this game 18-12, but it was not a pretty game. I gotta say, it's just one of those games. Like, there were so many penalties. Like, every other play I saw was a penalty, and it was just a sloppy game for the most part. Like, not a lot of scores in the first half. Like, all the touchdowns came in the second half of the game. And Matt Ryan, he threw 251 yards, but did not throw a touchdown pass. He only had one interception. And Devontae Freeman on the ground, he only rushed 6 for 36 yards and no touchdowns. And their only rushing touchdown was Tevin Coleman on the ground. And for the Eagles, they had a sort of productive game. Jay Ajayi had most of the carries that game. 15 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. And once again, the Philadelphia Eagles pulled off the Philly special with Nick Foles, obviously. They don't want to rush back Carson Wentz, and I agree with the Eagles. Nick Foles led them to the Super Bowl, and obviously I believe that he should have been the Week 1 starter, which he was, and there's no reason to rush back Carson Wentz. The Eagles want to be conservative here, and I believe they're doing the right thing by keeping him out of game time and bringing him back later, because it's just conservative and it's way to keep it safe by the Eagles. As I take a drink of water here, it's man. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Nelson Aguilar did go 1-for-1 with the Philly special play. That was not a touchdown, but they did do that in the third quarter. And receiving yards, Zach Ertz, Nelson Aguilar both got some good catches. Were targeted the most, both with 10 and 5 receptions for Ertz and 8 for Nelson Aguilar. And defense for both teams, sort of not good. I mean, I watched the game, but I thought there could have been more improvement, and there were so many penalties in that game as well. But the one penalty I do not agree with is getting an unsportsmanlike conduct or personal foul for running out of bounds and not making an attempt to get back inbounds. I just thought that was a crazy rule that they added this year, and not really sure why they added it, but I just think it was one of those unnecessary penalties. They called that twice or 3 times. And anyways, but Eagles win that game 18-12, improve 1-0 in the NFC East. Let's move on. Minnesota in San Francisco. Boy, Kirk Cousins, I have him on one of my fantasy teams, and wow. I think he played great. And, I'm happy for Kirk, what he's doing up in Minnesota. And if you didn't know, my bold prediction is Minnesota makes it to the Super Bowl this year. And they're playing the Jags, by the way, in the Super Bowl. That's my bold prediction. But anyways, let's look here at Kirk Cousins' numbers. 20 for 36, 244 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the day. Now, I just got to say, for the first time, on a new team, Kirk played really well. His receivers did a great job as well, giving him the looks and everything. He has Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Rudolph, just to name a few. They just look great for him, and I think Kirk is going to have an exceptional year with Minnesota. On the other side, for the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo went 15 for 33, 261 yards with only one touchdown and 3 interceptions. Not a great game for Jimmy Garoppolo. Moving on here, we have the New England Patriots winning 27-20. Tom Terrific Brady, as you know, 26 for 39, 277 yards, 3 touchdowns and only 1 interception. Sort of a close game against the Texans, as Deshaun Watson does make his return after that ACL tear last season, and he throws 17 for 35, 176 yards with 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I am surprised that the Texans actually kept it close. I thought the Patriots would once again run away with that game. Cincinnati over Indianapolis in Andrew Luck's return after missing the whole season last year with injury. Luck threw 39 for 53, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, and the Bengals still managed to beat the Colts. The Colts have a new head coach in Frank Reich and Andy Dalton, their new head coach, and did not manage to get the win with their new head coach. Andy Dalton threw 21 for 28, 243 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception as well. 34-23 was the score there. What a blowout in Buffalo as the Ravens beat the Bills 47-3. And interesting story with the Ravens. Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback, obviously. They drafted Lamar Jackson, and they're putting Lamar Jackson in on some packages as a wide receiver or something. And they're actually using Jackson to run some plays, which I think is really an odd look, like a unique look for the Baltimore Ravens. But I do like the fact that they are getting Lamar Jackson in somehow, because I believe he is a dual threat on the ground and throwing the ball as well. So they can probably get him in some wildcat or some. I didn't watch the whole game, but I did see he came in as wide receiver or something. Actually, yeah, Lamar Jackson, if I'm correct. Yeah, he had 7 carries for 39 yards, or if that was either him and the Wildcat or him actually going in as quarterback, because I knew since that was a blowout game, they did put Lamar Jackson in towards the end of the game. On the other hand, Nathan Peterman starts the game and once again gets benched. Like last year, after throwing 5 interceptions, he gets benched. This year, he only throws 2, and they put in rookie quarterback Josh Allen that the Bills drafted this year. But anyways, I do like what the Ravens are doing. Hopefully they'll continue to use Lamar Jackson, either like in the Wildcat or I don't know, out of wideout. I don't know. Yeah, he did not catch a ball. He was just getting looks out there. I some sort of wildcat or something. Like I said, I didn't really watch the whole game, but I do like what they were doing. Oh, how about this game? Oh man, I'm still just dumbfounded by this game. First week of the season, and the Steelers and the Browns tie. Hey, at least the Cleveland Browns didn't lose. I mean, technically the Cleveland Browns after week 1 are undefeated, but they didn't win a game. I still find that hilarious that they still haven't won, but they didn't lose a game, so they're undefeated. And the Steelers, obviously, I'm sort of upset with them because, as you know, Le'Veon Bell sat out week 1 due to contract negotiations, and I drafted Le'Veon Bell in one of my fantasy leagues, and that went to bite me in the butt. And I was mad about that, but nothing I could do about it. I was mad, but James Conner from Pittsburgh came in clutch, 31 carries for 135 yards. Wow. That's crazy. If you don't have James Conner in fantasy and he's available, you need to pick him up right away. Wow. I watched the highlights of that game. That was an impressive performance by James Conner. Ben Roethlisberger, he threw 335 yards with only 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. Tyrod Taylor, 197 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and they went through a whole overtime, and the Browns had a chance to win, but the Steelers blocked their field goal. So a week 1 tie, that is very, very interesting in the league. Now, moving on here, the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's a game I did watch, against the New York Giants. Jaguars pull out the victory 20-15. As you know, Saquon Barkley got his first start, and boy, let me say, the Giants lost, but Saquon still put on sort of a show. He broke free for a 68-yard touchdown, which I thought was great. Eli Manning didn't do too great, 224 yards on 23 for 37 and only 1 interception. Odell Beckham didn't do a lot, only 11 yards receiving. Shepard only 5 yards receiving. So slow start for the Giants, 20-15 on the other end. Bortles went 18 for 33, 176 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Leonard Fournette played maybe the first half, I believe. I forget that, but I forget how long he played, but he went down with injury after, but he went 9 for 41 before he went out with injury, and TJ Yeldon took most of the carries after that, going 14 for 51 yards. And moving right along in the podcast. Another game that sort of upset me because I am in a Survivor League, NFL Survivor League. If you don't know what that is, I will go into that briefly. It's where you pick a team to win each week, out of 32 teams. But once you pick that team, if you move on, you cannot pick that team again for the rest of the year. So I picked the New Orleans Saints because looking at it, Jameis Winston's out 3 games suspended with the Buccaneers backup quarterback. I feel like the Saints are going to do well with Alvin Kamara, but that was not the case, and I ended up losing week 1. I paid $20 to be in the Survivor League, and I come away with nothing. Buccaneers 48 and the Saints 40. Wow. I mean, that was crazy to me. I could not believe it. Ryan Fitzpatrick went off. Let's just look at some stats here. 21 for 28, 417 yards, and 4 touchdown passes. Just tell me that is not incredible for a backup quarterback replacing Jameis Winston. In my opinion, I think he should be the starter moving forward because Jameis Winston just gets into too much trouble, in my opinion, and the Buccaneers need to roll with somebody who won't get in trouble like Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, Fitzpatrick, he had an amazing game. like unbelievable how great his game was. And wow, I'm in shock. Like I believe the Buccaneers were the underdogs in that game. That's why I picked the Saints. Most of the people in my Survivor League picked the Saints, and half our pool got knocked out. Wow. But on the other side, the Saints, Drew Brees put up some numbers, 37 for 45, 439 yards with 3 touchdowns. And Alvin Kamara, sort of a slow day, only 8 carries for 29 yards and 12 targets, only 9 receptions for 112 yards in the air. But it was a shootout nonetheless. The Saints fought, tried to come back, but was not successful. All right. How about them Cowboys? The Carolina Panthers. Wow. I just got to say, I mean, if the Redskins don't win, I'm happy if the Cowboys lose. And the Cowboys just did not look like they did last year. Jason Witten's gone. Des Bryant's gone, obviously. Let's look at the numbers here. 19 for 29 for Dak Prescott. Only 170 yards with no touchdowns and no interceptions. I'm like, wow, Dak Prescott, really? I mean, and Ezekiel Elliott only had 15 carries for 69 yards on the ground. Like, wow. I mean, I didn't get to watch that game since the Redskins were on at 4:25, but I did look at it on my phone most of the game, and I was like, wow, is Dallas keeping this close? Is Carolina not doing well? But Carolina ended up winning. Wow. And Cam Newton, he didn't even put up a touchdown or an interception, only 161 yards on 17 for 26. But he had 58 rushing yards on the ground. Christian McCaffrey also did pretty well as well, 10 carries for 50 yards. And McCaffrey also got 6 receptions for 45 yards in the air as well. But obviously the NFC East race, so far after week 1, the Eagles and the Redskins 1-0. I will get to that Redskins game here in a second. And the Cowboys and the Giants 0-1. Moving on here, let's get to Seattle, Denver really quick. I will touch on that. 27-24, Denver. I did not watch that game. Let's just look here really quick. 25 for 39 for Case Keenum, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. I mean, that Case Keenum, former Viking, that seemed all right. I didn't watch the game, but I believe it looked like it was a close game. Russell Wilson, 19 for 33, 298 yards with 3 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. As you know, the Legion of Boom has been broken up as Richard Sherman did move on to San Francisco, and most of the other players have either been traded or signed to other teams or have retired. But a big story on the defense for the Seahawks, the Griffin Brothers, I'm sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. No, it is, excuse me one second, Shaquem Griffin, drafted by the Seahawks from UCF, starting with his brother Shaquille Griffin in the game. And as you know, Shaquem Griffin only has one hand he plays with, and that's just a great story in the league right now. I just think it's great that brothers are on the same team and they are starting on the same defense together. Alrighty, now the time we have all been waiting for, the Washington Redskins and the Arizona Cardinals. First off, let me say, ever since RG3 was a rookie, when he was a rookie, the Redskins played the Saints, and RG3 had a great game, and they won their season opener. And then the Redskins haven't won a season opener since, and it has changed. The Redskins defeat the Cardinals in Arizona 24-6. Jay Gruden's first ever home opening win. No, I'm sorry, excuse me. First season opening win. And let me just say, well, the Redskins looked really, really good. But I'm not going to get my hopes up because, as most DC sports fans do, they get their hopes up and say, oh, the Redskins are going to win the Super Bowl. Oh, this, oh, that. We're going to win 10 games, 15 games, and make it to the Super Bowl. And I'm not like that. I'm going to take it one game at a time for the Redskins. And I'll just say they had a great game. Alex Smith, 21 for 30, 255 yards with 2 touchdowns. Smith, I think he did great. The receivers stepped up big and helped him out. Let's see here. Adrian Peterson, two receptions, 70 yards. Chris Thompson, 6 receptions for 63 yards. Jordan Reed, if he's healthy, he's going to do well this year. 4 receptions for 48 yards. Crowder, he played well. 3 receptions, 32 yards. Paul Richardson, I do like what he has for the Redskins. 4 receptions, 22 yards. Josh Doxson only had 1 reception for 11 yards, and Vernon Davis had 1 reception for 9 yards. But all the receivers, if they can stay healthy, I think the Redskins will do great in that area. Rushing for the Redskins, starter Adrian Peterson surpassed Jim Brown's record and scored his 100th career touchdown in that game. 26 carries, 96 yards in the touchdown. I just got to say 96 yards in the first game after overcoming 2 knee surgeries. I got to say Adrian Peterson did really well as a starter for the Redskins in the first game. I'm really excited to see how Adrian Peterson does moving forward. Chris Thompson, he did great coming back after that knee injury, leg injury. 5 carries in 65 yards. And like when Adrian Peterson got tired, Chris Thompson came behind and he just picked off right where Adrian Peterson left off. That is a great combo, Peterson-Thompson, and I think the Redskins should keep going like that. Rob Kelly did play a little bit, only 3 carries for 7 yards. Not that bad, but Peterson and Thompson got the bulk of the carries in that game. Offensive line, they looked all right. I'm not going to say they played terrible, but I saw Alex Smith rushing outside the pocket a lot, just scrambling all over. And luckily, he didn't get. I don't think he got sacked at all. No, I do not believe he got sacked. Let me check here. Pardon my silence, but I do not. I don't believe he got sacked, but he was scrambling out of the pocket a lot because I believe the D-line couldn't hold the Cardinals' defense on a couple times. But for the most part, Alex Smith did have an exceptional game. Only 1 turnover for the Redskins, but that was towards the end of the game when the Redskins sealed the deal, and it was when Adrian Peterson broke free on that 70-yard rushing play and just fumbled the ball, didn't have 2 hands on the ball, just a mistake, but it did not cost the Redskins. And what else here? What else do we have here? I mean, defense, they looked pretty good. Our safeties, I'm liking what I see, and I'm hoping the Redskins will just improve from here, but you never know. On the other hand, Sam Bradford, 20 for 34, 153 yards and an interception. Not so great of game for Sam Bradford. Coming over from Minnesota, he was a free agent. No, wait. I think he was on the Cardinals. I think he was on the Cardinals last year. Was he? Man, I forget. But he was on the Vikings at one point. But man, I got to read up on that. But anyways, he did not have a good game on the ground. Only 9 carries for 37 yards, and Chase Edmonds right behind him. 4 carries for 24 yards. Larry Fitzgerald, as you know, the veteran for Arizona. Don't know when he's going to retire, but he's still putting up decent numbers for the Cardinals. 7 receptions for 76 yards, and David Johnson 5 receptions for 30 yards, and Chase Edmonds 4 receptions for 24 yards. So I'm not sure if the Cardinals just stink or if the Redskins actually played a good game. So I'm looking to see the weeks to come for the Washington Redskins, and hopefully it will be a good turnout week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts. Jay Gruden, I think he had a good game coaching, called the right plays, and all in all, great team win. I'm glad the Redskins are 1-0. I'm a happy camper, and And next week, the Redskins have their home opener hosting the 0-1 Indianapolis Colts. Alrighty. And let's move on here. Let me just say this next recap might be one of the best games I've ever watched. The Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. First off, I got to say, at the start of the game, I thought Chicago was going to run away with it, beating the Packers 20-0. And let's just pull up some stats here. Khalil Mack signed from the Raiders, and in the first half, he had a sack, a fumble recovery, and a pick 6. And wow. I was like, wow, are the Bears really about to beat the Packers? And Aaron Rodgers, 20 for 30, 286 yards. But in the first half, he did come out with a leg injury, and I believe that went into halftime. They carted him back, but after halftime, he came back. And I was like, wow, Aaron Rodgers, he's back. What can he do? I watched that game. He was limping. He could not walk on his leg. And he was firing passes left and right. And the Packers come down from a 20-0 deficit and beat the Bears 24-23. Game-winning touchdown was to Randall Cobb. And I could not believe it. I was like, Aaron Rodgers came back and won the game. I mean, no question, this man is a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and I believe Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback ever. I think he's better than Tom Brady. I'm going to make that argument. I don't know about you all, but I'm going to make that argument and say Aaron Rodgers plays better than Tom Brady. And he is a first-ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt both of them are going to get in. But Aaron Rodgers, first-ballot Hall of Famer. Let's just look here. Deshaun Kaiser took his place for a little bit. Only 4 for 7, 55 yards. And let's look at the rushing here. Jamal Williams, 15 carries, 47 yards. And Rodgers only had 1 rush for 15 yards. And receiving for the Packers looked really good. Randall Cobb, 9 carries for 142 yards. Devontae Adams, 5 carries for 5 receptions for 88 yards. And Geronimo Allison, 5 receptions, 69 yards. And, wow, I got to say, on the other hand, Mitch Trubisky, sort of a decent game with their new head coach, Matt Nagy. 23 for 35, 171 yards, but he did not put up a touchdown nor an interception. Jordan Howard on the ground looked really good, 15 carries for 82 yards, and receiving not so well. Allen Robinson got most of the yardage in the air for receptions for 61 yards for the Bears, and I just got to say, wow, what a game. And, like, the way week 1 has been, I think it was a great week of football. And, wow, a great week 1. And, like, that just capped it off for me. I was watching football all day, and I watched this game, and I was like, man, that's a great way to end the night. And the 2 Monday night games, Monday night doubleheader to wrap things up here. The New York Jets with Sam Darnold. An interesting story with Sam Darnold. His first play from scrimmage for the Jets, he goes out and throws a pick six. I was like, man, like, had to happen to a rookie quarterback. And it was Quadre Diggs who had the pick six. Wow. But Sam Darnold did recover, 16 for 21, 198 yards with 2 touchdowns and only 1 interception. And the Lions were looking good there for a little while, but then no, like second half game and the Jets blew them out of the water. Like Isaiah Crowell, 10 carries for 102 yards. Bilal Powell, 12 carries for 60 yards. Bilal Powell, by the way, is on my fantasy team in place of Le'Veon Bell. So if he didn't really score that many points, that's why I'm mad at the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's look here. Receiving, sort of good. Terrell Pryor from the Redskins had 3 receptions for 49 yards. Quincy Inua, 6 receptions for 63 yards for the Jets. The Lions, Matt Stafford had a terrible game, 27 for 46, 286 yards with only 1 touchdown pass and 4 interceptions before getting replaced by Matt Castle when the game was out of reach, going 2 for 6, 14 yards and another interception. On the ground for the Lions, Theo Riddick, 4 for 20 yards. Kerryon Johnson, 5 for 17 yards. And receiving yards for the Lions looked good. Kenny Golladay, 7 catches for 114 yards. And Golden Tate, 7 catches for 79 yards. It looked all right from what I could see, but the Jets just blew them out of the water. It looked like a close game going into halftime, but nope. And I'm glad Sam Darnold got that win because I was like, man, this is not going to be a good game for the Jets if they end up not winning. And I was like, what a terrible way to start off the game with a pick six. But they came back and won it. And last but not least, John Gruden's return to coaching in Oakland. And I got to say, I watched the first drive by the Raiders, and wow, Marshawn Lynch is a beast. The whole team was pushing him across that goal line to get that first touchdown. I was amazed. And the energy John Gruden had after that touchdown, I felt like, man, he missed coaching a lot. Let's look at the numbers here. Derek Carr. 29 for 40, 303 yards, and 3 interceptions. Wow. Man, the Rams. I wonder what the Rams did. Jared Goff, 18 for 33, 233 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not bad. Todd Gurley had 108 yards rushing. And Brandon Cooks, 87 yards receiving. So pretty good game by the Rams. Jared Goff, my fantasy backup quarterback. I might have to put him in a starter. I'm not sure. if I like these numbers still. Todd Gurley, I should have picked him up instead of Le'Veon Bell, but it is what it is. But the Raiders here, let's look here. Marshawn Lynch, after that touchdown, only had 41 yards and 11 carries, 41 yards rushing. And let's see here. Jared Cook had a good game in the air, 9 receptions for 180 yards, but Raiders only put up 13 points to the Rams 33. And yeah, that is a look. Oh, yes, forgot to mention, 2 others. Tennessee and Miami. That was probably the longest game played because they had like 2 weather delays, but Dolphins end up beating the Titans 27-20 there. And Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs pull out, and the rest of the Chiefs pull out the Week 1 win against the Los Angeles Chargers. Pat Mahomes here, 256 yards with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, compared to Phillip Rivers' 424-yard game with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. There it is. Week 1 for you. And let's just go down Week 2 matchups starting Thursday night. Baltimore-Cincinnati in a rivalry after last season. Cincinnati beat Baltimore to get Buffalo into the playoffs. That was crazy. Washington hosting Indianapolis, obviously. That's going to be a CBS game. And Minnesota playing Green Bay. That with Aaron Rodgers out. Can Kirk Cousins do well against Aaron Rodgers? It's a rivalry game, so let's see there. Houston and Tennessee. Kansas City and Pittsburgh. Pat Mahomes. I think I'm going to have to take the Chiefs on that one. Miami and the New York Jets. Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. Easy Philadelphia. But wait, I will take that back. That's going to be a shootout. If Philadelphia played the way they played on Arizona Cardinals and Los Angeles Rams, Detroit and San Francisco, Oakland and Denver, New England and Jacksonville, and Sunday night NFC East matchup, the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, and Friday night, the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. That's Week 2 for you. I will have that recap of all of Week 2 coming for you as soon as I can next week, but that wraps it up for this episode of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast. I thank you so much for tuning in again, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me, kirbyonsports@gmail.com, my Twitter, Kirby on Sports, and my Facebook page, the Kirby on Sports podcast. Until next time, I say so long. Thank you so much again for tuning into the podcast, and I will catch you all next time.